Generally starting the day on Sunday in double figures, but a mixed picture. Sunny spells across much of England and Wales. A dry start across eastern parts of Scotland with some morning sunshine, but a different story in the west. Cloudy here, some outbreaks of rain, some low cloud around the coast. This extending into Northern Ireland too, the risk of some patchy rain in places. But across England and Wales, it's generally dry. The cloud could be thick enough at first for a few spots of light rain and drizzle down the east coast, but plenty of sunshine to start the day with any mist and fog patches slowly clearing. And then the day ahead is a brighter day for many. There should be sunny spells. I think as the day goes on, the cloud will bubble up across England and Wales, limiting the sunshine at times, and there is the risk of that rain still across western Scotland, just slowly pushing a little further north and eastwards. But temperatures overall should be a little higher on Sunday compared to today, 24, 25, a little more widely. So just feeling warmer out there compared to today. And into the evening time, the cloud tends to fade away again, so some sunshine ahead of dusk, and most places ending the day dry. Another warm day on Monday. Temperatures even higher, could reach 27, 28 Celsius before it turns cooler and more unsettled as we head through the week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, it's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm, of course, Alex Armstrong, along with Dr. Renee, Kai Wilshaw, and two new faces who haven't done this show before. Lauren McEvitt, who has been on GB News, of course, and Chris Cork, social media superstar, making his debut on the channel tonight. Well, saying that, tonight on the show, Chris,
Being patriotic isn't racist.
Keir Starmer chooses migrants over women and girls.
Lucy Connolly was Keir Starmer's political prisoner.
Rachel Reeves and how many different ways she can find to kill the country.
And don't deport migrants, deport reform.
Oh my goodness. All right, it's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Yes, welcome to the Saturday 5, everybody. Love hearing your says. Let's get them in tonight. What do you think about Kai's topic? You're going to stay tuned for that one because I'm telling you, he's told me a little bit about it. He wants to deport reform. That's what he wants to do. He wants to deport reform. We should actually change the debate. Should we deport Kai?
Yeah.
What do we think? That could be a good head-to-head, actually. Lauren, thanks for coming on the show. It's lovely to have you.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
2 Welsh people on the Saturday 5.
Well, an honorary Welsh.
We've put them on that side of the debate panel tonight because you never know. There could be some lineups, but from what I saw, I think your political views might be quite different. Chris, social media sensation, thanks for joining us. Good to have you here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Taking a break from the filming on the podcast, of course. Good, lovely to have you here. And of course, this is all about what you think too. Send your views in gbnews.com/your say. Don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the 5. It's my favourite part of the show. And sadly, it's the last time I'm going to do Ask the 5. So we'll get some more of that later. But I really want your best Ask the 5s ever. Let's make it the best Ask the 5 we possibly can. So these are questions specifically for us, for the panel here. You can ask us anything you like. It could be our favourite movie, our favourite ice cream, anything you want. But please get them in and put Ask the 5 in your comments because I would love to read them out at 8 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a really fun show. And, of course, vote in the poll. Today we're asking, should sports teams turn their back on Israel's national anthem? Should we let Russia and Ukraine just fight it out? And should King Charles and Prince Harry make it all up? Well, gbnews.com/poll. But before we get started for what's going to be a very lively few hours, just Saturday night news with the brilliant Lewis Mackenzie.
Good afternoon. It's just after 6 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. Tensions were high as hundreds of protesters and counter-protesters gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers across the UK. Demonstrations were held in major towns and cities in England, including Bristol, Liverpool, Newcastle and central London. Protesters with the group Stand Up to Racism were also out in force. Nigel Farage has vowed that if he becomes Prime Minister, 5 deportation flights would leave the UK every day under plans to tackle illegal immigration. In an interview with The Times, the Reform UK leader says Britain is facing what he calls a massive crisis, and the only way forward is to detain and deport all migrants who arrive illegally. His plans would take Britain out of the European Convention on Human Rights and opt out of the UN Convention Against Torture and other international agreements. Ghislaine Maxwell has told US officials she never saw President Donald Trump act inappropriately. In an interview with the US Justice Department in July, the convicted sex trafficker said President Trump was, quote, always very cordial and very kind. Miss Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, also denies any knowledge of a client list. She also added that she does not believe that Epstein died by suicide. 3 people are in a life-threatening condition after a suspected arson attack at a restaurant in East London. Crews rescued 5 people from the building on Woodford Avenue in Ilford late last night. 3 women and 2 men were treated for burns and smoke inhalation. All of them have been taken to hospital. The Met Police and London Fire Brigade are investigating, with no arrests being made just yet. Lyle Menendez, the older of the notorious brothers who were jailed for murdering their parents in Los Angeles in 1989, has been denied parole. It comes a day after his brother Eric Menendez received the same ruling. The pair, now ages 57 and 54, were given life sentences without the chance of parole 30 years ago after killing their parents with a shotgun at their Beverly Hills home. They claim they acted in self-defense. And finally, one of the world's most active volcanoes erupted again. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano started shooting arcs of lava 100 feet into the air early this morning. This marks Kilauea's 31st eruption since December, with the molten rock contained within the summit crater, therefore posing no threat to nearby homes. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. More from me in an hour's time.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
We're back with the Saturday 5 now. I'm going to read out some of your says because I try to do this I say this every week, but I read more your says out than any other GB News show. That is a guarantee.
Kai wants
right?
data.
Grumpy Grandad. Yeah, well, that's true.
Stats.
He wants the stats. They always want the stats, don't they? Grumpy Grandad says, "Can we deport Kai in his beaver suit? We can send him to Canada." I think we should. Actually.
Natural habitat.
Or just release him on the Y.
I think so. Jack says, "Alex, what did you do with our Willie? Where is he?" I don't know. I don't know where Willie is,
I know
actually.
where he is.
Do you? Where is he?
He's in Spain.
Is that it?
Northern Spain.
Like, he could have flown back from the show. We'll have words with him after this. Patrick says, Corky, welcome to the 5, mate. Yes, welcome on board. PW says, Dr. R, liking the leopard print. You've got the, very feisty comments about Dr. Renee, and you've got to say so, I'll tell you that for sure. Dam says, are lefties totally nuts, judging by Kai? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And Linda says, great to see Lauren on, such an articulate, intelligent woman. There.
Thank you.
Despite her being Welsh.
I'm not actually Welsh, it's just honorary.
All right.
Not being a lefty overrides.
It's true.
Nice comments.
Well, over the next 3 hours, the biggest debates, hottest topics and entertaining interviews. I'm going to crack on with tonight's first debate, and I'm going to kick us off because I believe Lucy Connolly was Keir Starmer's political prisoner. And that is the damning indictment by Lucy Connolly herself in her first bombshell interview since her release from prison. What Connolly revealed, in my strong opinion, is that she was a victim of two-tier justice with exceptional thanks to Sir Keir Starmer. Telegraph journalist Alison Pearson has stated on X that Lucy never saw the paperwork which every prisoner gets. She had no idea her plea was 1A, the most serious charge for her lawyer could have opted for. That's the words there of Alison Pearson from The Telegraph. Of course, Lucy was held in prison on remand, not giving her space to consider her situation. Her case was rushed through the court, and even she claims that the legal advice she received stated that she was going to prison regardless of her plea. And she was then denied bail and handed a heavier sentence than some even convicted paedophiles. So what is Keir Starmer's role in all of this? Well, he called for cases to be rushed through the court. He smeared all protesters as far-right thugs. He declared all those arrested would be held on remand. He said all charges will be followed through and there will be convictions.
Condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests. Individuals will be held on remand. Charges will follow, and convictions will follow.
Yeah, now look at that. It's my opinion that due to the Prime Minister's own words, the courts, the CPS, and many in the legal system believe that Starmer and the state influenced the judicial process through accusations of far-right racism. Lucy Connolly will now be Keir Starmer's worst nightmare, and there is nowhere he can hide. Well, I'd like to bring in my panel to talk about this a little bit more, and where else better to start than our in-house lefty and Keir Starmer lovey, Kai Wilshaw. Kai, listen, I think the evidence is pretty clear. Lucy Connolly's interview the other day was damning for the Prime Minister, damning for the government. Why did the Prime Minister feel it was necessary to get involved in our legal system?
I really don't see the connection here, Alex. I think it's bonkers for you to suggest, and quite insulting for political prisoners, actual political prisoners across the world, for you to suggest that this is in any way comparable. And in any case, there's 1.1 million convictions in this country, right? And we're focusing on social media crimes that only account for about 44 of those convictions. So really, this has been...
But that's like saying there's only a few murders here and there, but we'll tolerate those murders because most of them are just crimes of theft. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely bonkers.
No. But what we are really getting at, what we actually have in this country is a completely broken justice system.
We do.
It's not two-tier justice like you claim. And you claim it very well by cherry-picking cases that on the face of it...
Prime Minister's own words, Kai.
On the face of it, look ridiculous. But obviously she's been hard done by, Lucy Connolly. But to extrapolate that out and make this an endemic problem is actually quite ridiculous.
Well, I'll come on to you, because I think it's absolutely tragic that anybody's locked up for free speech, by the way. I think every single person should be terrified that you can be locked up for a tweet.
Absolutely terrified, and people were and are, and that was the whole point of Lucy Connolly going to prison so quickly, because he wanted people, this is Starmer, he said it, that there will be swift justice, jail sentences, and it was dished out. But just to go to your data, because I know you love it,
I do.
417 people were charged in the days after Southport with offences during. 369 of them went to jail immediately. Now, you're talking on the one hand of our broken justice system where we don't have any places, but actually we did suddenly have loads of places for people who had tweeted, who had said something about, or who'd thrown a flag at a policeman, Kai. This is a land where we are supposed to have freedom of expression. We don't, and Lucy was a political prisoner of that.
No, that is bonkers, really. And it is so convenient that you pick the cases where, Lucy Connolly, she's quite a sympathetic victim, I agree. I think she did regret what she did.
What about the man who killed
not talking about those people who had offensive weapons in their flat, who reposted screenshots of the offensive and vile things that they said. That's exactly the kind of people who were locked up exactly the same time as Lucy Connolly. And all right, I want to bring in Lauren. Lauren, what do you make of this situation with Lucy Connolly?
I think that there is a problem with two-tier justice in this country, but I don't believe it's the one that you think that there is. I think it's an access to to legal advice issue. My understanding is that Lucy Connolly confessed guilt in advance of taking legal advice, after which any defence is incredibly difficult, whether or not it's in front of a judge at a plea bargain or whether or not it's in front of a jury trial. And it's entirely possible that the legal advice that flowed from that wasn't brilliant, but put her in front of a judge rather than in front of a jury of her peers who may well have found her also equally guilty of what she was charged with, which was inciting racial hatred. Now, there are very clear tariffs for inciting racial hatred. Had she been charged with something else, the tariffs would have been very different. But I also think, and I know that Renee disagrees with me, there is more space in the women's prison estate than there is in the men's, which is why you will see, I think, convicted paedophiles out on licence when this woman was able to be put in prison because there was a space for her.
OK. Renee, do you want to come back on that quickly? Then I'll bring in Chris.
Well, yes, because most of those people jailed were actually men, so that's why that doesn't stack up. I agree with you about the judiciary. But let's just talk about one other case. Peter Lynch, Grandad. Do you know why he was jailed?
Go on.
Holding a placard up.
Yeah, and exactly my point. You're cherry-picking cases.
What did the placard say?
Your own agenda,
the placard
Renee.
said that the media was corrupt, something to that offence.
The media was corrupt.
Yeah, there you go.
And then he ended up hanging himself, which is...
in prison.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's a horrible...
Well, let me bring you in.
But...
Chris, do you think anyone should be locked up for free speech crimes in Britain in 2025? Or do you think there's a red line somewhere we need to draw?
I just look at Ricky Jones and what he said. He had a megaphone and he was saying it in front of thousands and thousands of people to slit throats. You know what I mean? And he got away with it.
Well, a jury of his peers said that he was not guilty. A judge, after she had confessed, said that Lucy Connolly was after she had agreed to a guilty plea. That's two very different approaches to justice.
Can I say, because I think that highlights the problem I've got here, is that this whole situation was rushed. It was rushed.
Yeah,
Lucy Connolly was rushed, and it was only because the Prime Minister stood up on that podium and said, we're going to rush this, we're going to rush through these cases, we're going to call out this far-right thuggery, there'll be arrests, and then there'll be convictions, and you will not like it. Pretty much almost what he said word for word there. If the Prime Minister gets involved and says, I'm going to make a political statement, it's about the justice system and how I'm going to now make it faster and quicker and harder and tougher on people who are getting involved in this protest here, then surely...
Then I'd like Starmer to try and, make this story go away, and I'd like him to do a little experiment.
Go on.
I'd like him to stand up on Monday and say that everybody up for a sex crime has to have had it been dealt with by Christmas.
There you go.
And we'll see if his intervention has any bearing on the speed at which those cases, famously slow cases, famously hard to adjudicate, if they How is it different?
It's very different. The country was in a febrile state. There were riots on the television.
You don't think that there's a crisis of crimes against women in this country?
I do, but not to the point where it's on the news every time.
It should be. Crimes against women in this country should be on the news every single night, and they are not.
So the situation with Starmer standing up and saying that is entirely...
Well, that's why I'm saying it should be an experiment. You should stand up on Monday and see if it has the same impact. It does not.
It doesn't.
Of course
Exactly.
it doesn't.
Because we have a separation of the judiciary and the political systems in this country. Of course we do.
But also, I would argue that there's a clear political divide on this, right? With the women's issue, I genuinely tend to believe most good people are aligned.
Yeah.
Although I do think the case that we're talking about here, which for the following up of the riots, became very political, and that the Prime Minister coming out and saying these are far-right thugs was political in itself. He then, in my opinion, influenced the legal system, where to the extent where legal advice to the CPS, the judges and everyone's going, Prime Minister saying we need to lock people up, we need to convict, let's crack on with it, doing it faster, quicker and harder.
I think we're overlooking the fact that it's entirely possible, in fact, it's plausible, that a jury of her peers would also have found her guilty.
I think you might be right on that, and we will never know, unfortunately.
No, we'll never know, but I would say that they would not have convicted her. And there is an elephant in the room here that nobody's addressing, which is crimes against women are not viewed as politically important as the Muslim vote.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Chris, when it comes to Lucy Connolly, do you think she's going to sort of be this free speech champion now she's released from prison and she's able to go and speak to anyone she likes?
Well, she's already done an interview, hasn't she, with...
The Mail did it, I think.
Telegraph with Alison Pearson and Dan Wilson's show as well.
She's going to get offers left, right and centre, isn't she?
She's talking to Trump's administration.
Well, I think there was a little bit of confusion as to whether that was real.
Is it Dan Wooten?
That's correct.
She's done it, and
I'm not sure whether she is going to speak to the Trump administration, but do you think, Chris, like when it comes to America, because America has been taking quite a keen interest in free speech, I don't know whether she is meeting the Trump administration. There's been some confusion about whether that's actually taking place. But do you think someone like Lucy Connolly will have an international impact? Because she's quite an ordinary person, isn't she?
Yeah, of course, because Keir Starmer sat in the White House and told them that we have free speech and we don't have censorship and stuff. And what she did, she obviously tweeted and she got locked up for 31 months.
Do you know what?
I think Keir gaslights the British public massively, and he was very, very quick to the far-right thugs, the far-right racist and stuff. And if you look at what actually happened at Southport, then people are just absolutely frightened and worried. You know, they're children. Yeah. I've got young girls myself. You know what I mean? I would probably do the same, not to a degree of what these... but I find it absolutely mental how he just comes out, far-right, racist, did it, puts everyone in one basket. And I hope she wipes the floor with them, to be honest.
Yeah, and listen, I know she's regretted saying what she said, and she's come out and said, I don't condone violence, and nobody should condone violence. Nobody wants... I don't think she's even said, I didn't mean to incite any hatred at all. She was just having a moment. She thinks she described it as a red mist that falls over her, which I think is perfectly human. The difference is in 2025, this is where the law is just not fit for purpose anymore, Public Communications Act, but it's somewhere along those lines, is that it isn't fit for purpose, and therefore people put words up on the internet and they never go away anymore.
Yeah.
This is why I find the Free Speech Union to be so interesting, because we do have a protection for freedom of expression in this country. We have Article 8 under the ECHR converted into the Human Rights Act in 1998, and the Free Speech Union has a much better understanding of how to protect on issues of free speech. So, you know, I think, you know, there's a lot of lefties who come on when there's a protest. It's like, don't talk to the police, don't say anything. I think our side of the argument also has to say, if you're arrested at a protest, don't say anything.
Well,
find a lawyer.
I'll fight for it. I don't believe Ricky Jones should have gone to prison either. I don't believe that should have ever happened. I want everyone to have freedom of speech in this country, no matter how vile I might find it.
Even saying, like...
What he said, yes.
Well, the thing is, I couldn't get my head around it. He had a megaphone, so he wanted his voice to be heard. But if I went into Manchester Town Centre tomorrow with a megaphone and I got a crowd and I started saying, right, slit the throats of these people, I would be locked up. I'd get thrown in prison.
Well, listen, I don't think you should. I think the way the Americans do this, Chris, is that they judge incitement to violence based on whether or not someone actually acts on whether or not your words have... And I think that is the correct way to do it. I'm not saying it's right, but I think, for me, that's where I would land it. Final word to you on this, Kai. How would you like it if let's say, a Farage government comes out tomorrow, there's been rioting, and says, oh, these far-left thugs, and starts locking up people that are disagreeing with him on the internet? Would you be unhappy about that? Would you call him a dictator? Do you think you'd say it was two-tier justice then?
You can't make up your mind, can you? Either it's indecisive, you turn here, or he's a statesman. He was being decisive, he was wanting what the country needed, and you don't like it.
OK, well, we'll leave it there, shall we? A Northamptonshire police spokesperson said this: "We are aware of comments made by Lucy Connolly in an interview following her release from prison. We hope to contact Mrs Connolly in the coming days to understand the issues she has raised around Northamptonshire police." OK, well, it's the final week to see how you could live mortgage or rent-free with an additional £5,000 in your bank account. Or, if you don't have to make those payments each month, you could just end up with 15 grand tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, it's already quite a fiery start to the Saturday 5, isn't it? Coming up next is Dr. Renee. What have you got for us?
Keir Starmer chooses migrants over women and girls.
Well, you are with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, everybody. I'm going to read some of your says out in the next hour because I really want to hear what Dr. Renee has got for us this week. Renee, tell us about what you're talking about.
Well, this week, Alex, marked a turning point, really, in this country, or it could have done. NIMBYism, for once, had a win that could really benefit the country. A landmark decision from the courts has decided to close the hotel that was shipping in young men from cultures where women have no voice, no rights, and quite often are just owned by the men in their family or their husband. We're seeing these migrants being shipped into our small communities, and the local communities have said no. So across the country, women in pink came out to protest and say, not in our backyard, not near our daughters. And the council in Epping went to court, and on a technicality, yes, I agree, has got an injunction to close the hotel. Was I cheering? No. I've been watching and waiting to see if Starmer would finally do something for the people of this country, acknowledge the women he ignored, listen to the communities that he ghosted, unveil those voices that he silenced. He could have closed all of the hotels across the country and announced that he was going to move these people into mass detention centres. He could have said they were going to be locked detention centres, or he could have gone the full Farage and just put them all on planes. But no. What did he do? He's going to fight that court ruling. That's all we need to know that Keir is not on the side of tax-paying, law-abiding citizens. He's not on the side of women's safety. He's on the side of illegal migrants.
OK, we've got a right of reply there, Renee. Would you like to just read that out for us?
Yes. So Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, in a statement, has said, we agree with communities across the country that all asylum hotels need to close, including the Bell Hotel. We are working to do so as swiftly as possible as part of an orderly, planned and sustained programme. This is the reason that the Home Office appealed in this case, to ensure that going forward the closures of all hotels can be done in a properly managed way right across the country without creating problems for other areas and local councils caring.
There we go. OK, let's bring it into the panel here. Lauren, what do you make of the situation here?
So I think it's right to try and close the hotels and find another solution. However, doing so at speed risks upsetting an already fairly dangerous rental market within the United Kingdom, and it's going to go into the private rental market that we have. We will have people moved into the private rental market, but they've got to go somewhere. The military bases that could be used for this are not fit for purpose to be used right now, so there has to be, timed efforts to try and make things work.
It's me, not four-star luxury with the TV and...
No, but you do have to be able to have a roof on some of them, and some of the bases we're talking about haven't been in use for a decade. We can't have people move into buildings that haven't been in use in a decade because they will be unsafe in some way, and that's going to take a little bit of time.
They've come from tents in Calais.
OK, Kai, what do you make of this? Because, I do sympathise with Renee, actually. We built the Nightingale hospitals in record speed. We can surely do the same for migrant camps.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, right? But what's really deeply offensive and irresponsible is you have kamikaze Kemi Badenoch and two Bob Jenrick calling... they're playing us for fools, aren't they? They know how deeply this will impact the state's capacity on the asylum estate. Things are going to get much worse if hotels start closing across the country, and that's because, as we've said, there's nowhere for them to go.
No, there is.
And you
there
can't...
is. Kai, stop saying this. No, this is rubbish.
No,
there's plenty of places for them to go.
All right.
We have disused... And I agree with Dr. Renee, there is disused army bases. We can build Nightingale hospitals in weeks. This government could solve this crisis. Nigel Farage... We're going to talk about this later. Actually, I want to get on it because you're going to talk about that later.
So how much
But there's plenty of solutions that the government can make.
Cost?
And do you know what we should do? Just get them on a plane and deport them back to where they came from. Simple as that.
So these disused buildings that you are going to rush to get ready in days, weeks. So how secure are those going to be?
How secure is a HMO? There's no security at HMO.
How happy are you going to be if we lose track of these people across the country because we're rushing this rather
We've already lost... Listen, Kai, we've already lost track of them. We've had data leaks after data leaks. We've already lost track of most of them.
And so this is going to make things better, is it?
No,
you heard from Alex first.
It's not going to get much worse, Kai.
It's going to get worse if we don't have them in a place where we know where they are.
OK.
It's going to cost the taxpayer a lot of money as well.
Let's bring in Chris. Go on, Chris.
It's going to cost the taxpayer a lot of money as well.
All of them are going to cost taxpayer money.
Always comes down to the taxpayer. We always have to fund it. And it's like they're a priority as well, which is...
Yes.
That's got to be a bit of an annoyance to people who get up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, go to work, drive past these hotels.
I'd argue it's no more of an annoyance than the 600,000 graduates who are currently sitting on universal credit and not doing any work.
Well, yeah, I agree with that.
But that's our problem. We've got to solve that. And just briefly, Kai, Scarlett Evans says Rwanda. The one word that Labour's afraid of. Why can't we just get Rwanda back up and go? Because that really did help it.
No, actually, what Labour has been doing in the last year has been working.
It hasn't.
Returns of failed asylum seekers are up 30%, cutting asylum costs by 11%, reducing the backlog by 18%.
Because you just let everybody in.
Farage
reducing the backlog just gets everybody to be allowed to be able to stay.
Just give me the stat on hotel occupants. Just give me the
111,000.
Oh, is that up or down?
No, it's up.
Oh,
OK.
Yeah.
Have you went to Rwanda? Well, I'm sorry, we have to end it there because there's lots more to come tonight. Who is up next?
Oh, it's me, and we've touched on this topic already, haven't we? Instead of deporting migrants, let's deport Nigel Farage.
I think we should deport Kai. You're with the Saturday 5 Live on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed bag across Europe as we go through the next few days. There is some rain pushing into parts of Portugal, also affecting southwestern Spain as we go into tomorrow, but most of Spain actually having a largely fine day. A few showery outbreaks affecting parts of Italy, Greece and maybe Turkey too, but these won't be as heavy nor as thundery as we've seen recently. And then through into next week, whilst most places will stay largely fine, across some areas, France, Germany for example, the risk of some heavy thundery downpour.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland we've got a westy split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, the mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Blimey, what's Saturday 5, eh? Get in touch, gbnews.com/yours. So I'm going to read them out at the top of the hour because we're actually running behind schedule here because we've been arguing so much. So thank you for your messages so far. I will read them out, I promise. And now it's time for our next debate, and it is unfortunately the man of the hour, Kai.
Oh, yes. Well, you've heard it already. Don't deport migrants, deport reform. Now, in a Times article this week, Nigel Farage has talked about Britain going downhill and facing a catastrophe. And in the words of the Times itself, to describe the plans as aggressive is an understatement. Now, Nigel Farage was first elected when I was 5 years old. He's long in the tooth. He's a political veteran. So he ought to know better than pouring petrol on the fire. But here he is, pump in hand. What is he doing? Why is he doing this? Well, it's a cynical and dangerous ploy. Cynical because Farage knows that he's under attack from the right of his party, from the likes of Rupert Lowe, who think he's gone woke. So he's doing this now ahead of these weekend protests, which is why it's incredibly dangerous. Dangerous for Nigel Farage to inflame tensions at a time when they are already riding high. So yes, you heard it here first. Don't deport migrants, deport Nigel Farage instead.
No, I actually think this is one of the most sensible policies I have seen come out of a politician's mouth.
What, deporting?
Mass deporting people who have arrived here legally. That sounds insane to you, but it sounds like common sense to 90% of the British public. Let me just tell you what he's going to do. Arrest of asylum seekers on arrival, automatic deportation, forced deportation.
And we all know.
No right of repeal to countries such as Afghanistan and Eritrea. People are coming here en masse. Fallback option of sending people to the Ascension Island. Criminal offences of people who return to the UK or destroy their identity documents. All things your government is unwilling to do because they're spineless.
Alex, you and I well know that none of those things are going to happen because what Nigel Farage is doing is, oh, look over there here. He's trying to distract from the fact
what are you talking about?
Under attack,
What's your plan? Smash the gangs? How's that going? No, there's less smashing of the gangs than there was under the Tories.
No. Nigel Farage is being a complete cynic here because he's under attack from the right. He's using the weekend protests to further his own agenda, saying that he'll do something that he actually cannot deliver. He cannot deliver this.
Nigel Farage is proving...
Performing, yes.
He's proven that he is one of the most politically astute leaders in politics that we've ever had, and it's something that Starmer is proving day after day after day. He doesn't have an ounce of that. He doesn't know how to read the people. He doesn't know how to say what the people want. Yeah. And that's what's killing him. And look, it's a distraction. Look over here. You do that to us every single week on every single topic.
Also, let's be really fair. Keir Starmer spent all of last year telling us how broken Britain was. Yeah. Nothing has improved, and now he's saying that it's all fixed and that Farage is to be blamed for saying that Britain is broken.
Not fair.
It was in the papers today.
Do you not think he'll get some tips from Trump on how he did it? Because he went in and he just got rid of them all. And
he's going even further.
It was just cutthroat, wasn't it?
No, but what Trump has done actually is fewer deportations than the Labour government has done. Trump is actually a very good analogy because Trump is pure performance and all performative politics and no actual action. That's exactly what Nigel Farage.
Did you not see the video when they went in and they hands over the head, put the masks over them, straight onto the plane, the buzzes and
reality
stuff
TV. Reality TV.
How many people crossed the border from Mexico last week?
I don't know, you tell me, Dr. Renee.
Mexico, sorry, none.
They've had none.
Zero. They've had zero illegal migrants in America, yet we are at record highs under Keir Starmer. And his predecessor, who also broke that top record, was Tony Blair, his other bestie, 2002, the other record high. Maybe there's something here. Maybe there's a connection with Labour loving illegal migrants coming into the country claiming asylum. I don't know. Let me know what you think in your say. We've got to move on to our next debates now, and it's our man making his debut on the channel here, Chris Cork. What are you going to talk to us about this week?
I want to talk about Operation Raise the Colours, which is the flags you've been seeing raised everywhere. It's like Wales, Scotland, Ireland, England. I just don't like the bit where it's being attached to the far right, the racist, the thugs. I think it's just people being patriotic. I can understand that, you know, they're getting a bit miffed off people painting roundabouts and stuff. You look at the state of Birmingham, they was on about the rubbish pile up in Birmingham, rats running around the streets and stuff. The council's bankrupt, so they can't do anything about that. But there's an England flag on a roundabout, is there? We'll go and get that cleaned up straight away. They were straight out there the day after, jet washing it off there, you know, cleaning it up. They're taking flags down. There's been videos today of people being attacked, putting flags up. I just think it's when England are playing in the World Cup and they're playing in Euros, you have flags. You have them in your car, you have them on your house, and I don't think there's anything wrong. I've been to America and I went from the airport to my resort where I was going, and there was flags everywhere. They're just very patriotic of the country, and I don't see any problem with it. Obviously, some people can go overboard and start painting absolutely everything. You don't want that. We should start painting some potholes, they might fill them in.
Yeah, Chris, I totally agree. Well, it does seem to be the case that the council are very willing to go after anything with the St George's cross on it, perhaps. We're talking of raising the cars. I don't know if you guys had a little notice there tonight. Red, white, blue. I like what you've done there. Some of the audience very, very clever there. Yeah. Kai, why is it that Labour councils in particular have such a problem with the national flag of our country, but seem to adore flags of Palestine, Pakistan and every other... the trans flag, the gay flag, all of this stuff they love. They'd be up all year round if they had it their way.
This ridiculous story has all the flag braggers out, doesn't it? It's really going a bit overboard, Alex. Now, you can't complain on the one hand that councils are useless, they're not picking up the rubbish, and then waste councillors' time, waste officials' time with what is really vandalism and unauthorised displays. Now, I would love to have big inflatable daffodils and leeks hanging off lampposts, but where does it end? You know, you could literally take this to the extreme and end up with litter all over the streets.
You're talking rubbish.
No, I'm not.
I
am talking rubbish.
Have you been to Tower Hamlets since October the 7th, where from every flagpole at one point there was a Palestine flag and no
they shouldn't be there.
But they weren't taking them down. But as soon as you put up a British flag of any, whether it's the Union Jack or the St George's Cross, take them down.
It's racist.
This isn't about safety or what they could... This is about our institutions, our civil service, hating anything British. And you know what? We're claiming it back.
Yep, spot on, Renee. Lauren?
I really enjoyed that Birmingham Council claimed that the flag was going to bring over the lamppost, and that's why I had to come down, because that's clearly lunacy. But they'd also just lit up Birmingham Library and the Pakistan flag and the Indian flag because of the partition.
Installed.
And when was the last time that they put that up?
And you'd rather have just any Joe blogs going up on lampposts?
No, but I'd say that Birmingham Council should probably defend why they didn't do that for the St George's Cross on St George's Day.
It was an easy win for them just to either install...
To do nothing. Don't put any flags anywhere.
Colours up on the building.
They had Pakistan Independence Day, didn't they? They raised the flag and stuff. I don't have an issue with that. I really don't have an issue with that. But if the England flags are a problem, then why is that not a problem?
But you know what? I have a problem with it. I don't want any other foreign flag flying in our country. The only flags that should be flying across Britain are the St George's Cross, and every other nation's flag, actually, including the Union flag, and of course any county flags as well. I don't mind
Royal
those.
Standard.
But the LGBTQ plus IA alphabet flag, that needs to come down everywhere. The Palestine flags need to come down. You're in Great Britain. You're in the United Kingdom. There is only one flag.
What do you think about the Ukrainian flags?
No, that shouldn't be there either. We are not in Ukraine.
We get involved with it too much, don't we, politically? It was like when Ukraine, you had...
Where does it end?
There was a few players with Chelsea and Arsenal, and they made it all about them and stuff. It shouldn't even be involved in sport. I don't know why it is involved in sport, to be honest.
You're right, and the problem we've got, Chris, is that there are the councils up and down this country, in particular places there, I know you all know where they are actually, they don't care about this country anymore. They're more obsessed with countries abroad. We see this all the time with the politicians, the elected politicians, the MPs of that area, talking more about airports in Kashmir, Pakistan, than they are about the bin crisis in their own city. It is a disgrace. Is it a disgrace those people represent Great Britain? It's a disgrace, isn't it?
I think it matches nicely with, not nicely, but I think it does match with the decline of our national institutions and trust in our national institutions, and it therefore does come from a place of national insecurity. And were we more secure as a country, we wouldn't feel the need to do this in quite the same way.
We've been told for the last 20 years that we should be guilty for our empire. We have a...
Well, no, let's be really clear. When the Conservatives were in government, they got the only derogation from the European Union to make sure that if there was a national flag of any kind, even if it was the 5 ports flag, then it could fly over and above the European flag on any government building. So it's not the last 20 years, it's the last one.
Well, yeah, but I think in our education system has been infiltrated by the leftovers. I'm not saying that the education, the curriculum was,
really
but I don't think the Tories did a good job of protecting our national identity. If I'm being honest with you, I think they did a pretty poor job.
Did the Premier League get rid of the rainbows as well? Because they said it's
only recently.
I'm sure it was the start of this season. They got rid of the laces and all.
Look, it can't be that hard. Keep national flags in international sports. Take all the rest of politics out of sport.
Yeah. Take the rest of the flags out of the country. Just keep ours. That's all I want. Anyway, Lauren, you're up next. What have you got for us?
I have Rachel Reeves finding just about every methodology possible to float into the press in the last week, in advance of a budget in the autumn, of all the many different ways that she can tax everybody into oblivion.
Lovely stuff. We will see that. Lauren's got a big one for you after the break.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Jupiter. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. More debates coming up for you this time. It's been very fiery so far, hasn't it? And we're going to get straight into it because Lauren, making her debut on the show, is up now.
Every budget, you have at least a month-long period in advance of the government floating test balloons of things that they may like to be able to do in the budget, but they want to see how they land first. And Rachel Reeves has had a month for the books this month. This week alone, she has proposed removing stamp duty but taxing the sale of the family home for the very first time in the United Kingdom. We've had suggestions over freezing tax thresholds again. We've had suggestions around capital gains tax. We've had suggestions around council tax. This is the first Labour government to come into power after a Conservative government that behaved like the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo. And so there isn't any money for them to spend. All the promises they made in their election last year can come to nothing because the country has no money at all. And after a year of being in government, they haven't found anything else. They've only increased the black hole that they alleged was there to begin with. With inflation beginning to go up again, Rachel Reeves has very few options, and none of them are going to be good for us.
Oh, it's so depressing, Lauren. I've been hearing about this stealth tax stuff. We were reporting on it earlier today. There's potential stealth tax raids coming in now because guess what, Kai? Your favourites in government have blown the budget. They took that black hole and said, you know what, let's double it. Why not make it bigger than double? Let's make it 50 billion because they can't...
Yes, what is the black hole? How much is it? Because I've heard of it must be in at least, what, 6? I think they just make it up.
Well, they do make it up.
For sure, but
she doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
We don't know for sure. We think it's around 50 billion, but let's find out. Hey, Kai?
And, if you want me to be doing maths, then you've got another thing coming.
No one in Labour can do maths. Don't worry about it.
That's the result of the Welsh education system, which Labour have been running for 25 years.
But she's caught in a policy triangle, isn't she? Because they've committed not to raise tax on working people, but they've also got these fiscal rules that they won't budge from, that are just Rachel Reeves deciding that she's going to stick to those rules, and then also delivering on this investment spending. And she won't budge from any of those, and so now is floating all these ridiculous policy ideas. But really, there's a long-term problem here as well, and this will impact the Starmer government as much as future governments. An ageing population, a shrinking tax base. This black hole is going to be bigger.
And nobody wants to build anything anywhere.
Of raspberry rubbish.
What about
your government has
Alex
got this
Armstrong.
absolutely ridiculous net zero plan to build these stupid plants up and down our country that are costing us 20 billion. You've sold off the Chagos Islands for 100 billion.
Yeah.
You're bringing in illegal migrants costing us tens of billions of pounds. You're blaming pensioners. You're blaming pensioners?
And no mention of the welfare state that under Labour has ballooned as well, where we've got now so many people who never have to work again.
Cut welfare?
I cut welfare across the board. There are very few people, and there are some, I grant you, who can never work, Kai, very few. But those people who can't, we absolutely must have a safety net for.
What about the triple R?
Everybody else, no. I wouldn't
Stop attacking pensioners. Leave pensioners alone. Do they have paid into... Hang on, no.
Are you about to try and say they've paid in all their life? Because that's a Ponzi scheme and it doesn't work that way, and you know it. National insurance does not work like that. It pays for today's pensioners and yesterday's pensioners, not because they've paid in all their lives.
15% of young people aged 18 to 24 who are not in work or education got off their backside and started paying some tax, then it wouldn't be such a Ponzi scheme. We need to cut benefits. You know what the biggest motivation is to go out to work, Kai? Not having any money.
And on top of that, not being taxed either. Chris, what do you make of these potential tax raids?
What about these migrants? How much are they getting?
Yeah.
You know, because you know, it's I can't get my head around it. Like, do you want a new mattress? Yeah. We can't. Yeah, Corky's doing overtime this weekend. He'll pay for that. I don't get that. There was videos of is it the Britannia? They was opening the lorries. There was mattresses and everything. Who's paying for that?
We are.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's wasteful spending. It's always wasteful spending. Massively wasteful spending.
But the problem is, these secular trends, an ageing population, the tax base, all of that is so much bigger than any one line in the budget, right? Mattresses or migrants or, you know, whatever you're saying about net zero, which, by the way, would be a massive investment in this country's future and future prosperity. But putting that aside, these are tiny budget lines in what is a huge century problem. This is going to be a problem for the next few decades.
Where Kai has a point is that we did not have enough babies in this country, but we also don't accept immigration in this country anymore, and therefore we can't make up in the workforce from immigration, and we're going to have a problem with an ageing population.
The ageing population is a really big issue.
Yeah, it is.
But the big problem we've got is that there's no incentive for young people to have children in this country.
Yeah, there is.
Absolutely not.
What's the point working? Childcare is through the roof. You can't buy a home.
What's the average price for a house these days? Like, when I first bought my house, it was like 125, which was, 10 years ago.
Right.
But now it's through the roof.
Unfortunately, we have to leave that debate there. We've run out of time, but loads more coming up on on the Saturday 5, including triggered tantrums, something you all seem to absolutely love at home, where we basically find the craziest clips of the week and put them on air for you to enjoy with us. We've also got some fascinating interviews coming out, including stuff on Ghislaine Maxwell and what that royal connection is, and what is the swingers and nudist beach war that's going down in Britain. Loads more coming up on the Saturday 5, but here's the weather.
There you are.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland, we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland, largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News. You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to a very lively Saturday 5. It's Saturday night, of course, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Alex Armstrong, along with Chris Cork, Dr. Renee, Lauren McEvitt and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show.
Should sports teams stay out of politics?
Welcome to Gavin Newsom's California.
Yeah, what's Pope Leo doing wading into the Chagos deal?
Is Georgia Maloney the queen of the eye roll?
At least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations from next step on.
And who is Reggie the Dolphin? And why is he causing chaos in Dorset?
It's 7 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Well, hasn't it been a lively show so far? Shall I read out some of your comments, because we love reading out your comments. Let me see if I can just find them first. That'll be a start. We've got loads of Ask the Fives coming in today. I told you this will be my last Ask the Five, potentially for a while. So get them in. I want any question you like. So please get those in, gbnews.com/yoursay. What have we got here? Andrea says, I agree with... this is on the issue of deportations. Andrea says, I agree with Renee and Alex. It could be easily solved, but Starmer hasn't got the will to do it, and he doesn't care about taxpayers. Well, it seems to be the case, doesn't it? What else have we got here? A nice comment for you there, Chris. Someone said, well done, Chris. Good to see you on the Saturday 5.
Thank you very much.
Claire says, we've got to ask the 5 on Jeffrey Epstein here. This is a really good one to talk to you about later. So keep them coming in. I'll read some more of your comments out throughout the show. But coming up, we'll be asking and talking about Pope Leo. Who does he think he is? He's made a statement saying Britain's surrender of Chagos Islands is a significant victory. I just think stick to religion, mate.
Who? Yeah.
Right, well, we're talking about him. Plus, we'll also be speaking to a nudist. Yes. There's a war between swingers and nudists, right? This is bombshell TV here on the Saturday 5. Please stick around for the Saturday 5 Extra to find out what that's all about. And we've got a fresh batch of triggered tantrums, and very shortly, we're going to reveal what we're going to be debating on the Saturday Scrap. So send your views in, gbnews.com/yoursay. But first, it's your Saturday night news headlines with Lewis Mackenzie.
Alex, thank you very much. Good evening. It's just after 7 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. Nigel Farage has vowed that if he becomes Prime Minister, 5 deportation flights would leave the UK every day under plans to tackle illegal immigration. In an interview with The Times, the Reform UK leader says Britain is facing what he calls a massive crisis, and the only way forward is to detain and deport all migrants who arrive illegally. His plans would take Britain out of the European Convention on Human Rights and opt out of the UN Convention Against Torture and other international agreements. Tensions were high as hundreds of protesters and counter-protesters gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers all across the UK. Demonstrations were held in major towns and cities in England, including Bristol, Liverpool, Newcastle and central London. Protesters with the group Stand Up to Racism were also out in force. Ghislaine Maxwell has told US officials she never saw President Donald Trump act inappropriately. In an interview with the US Justice Department in July, the convicted sex trafficker said President Trump was, quote, always very cordial and very kind. Miss Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, also denied any knowledge of a client list. She added that she does not believe that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. 3 people are in a life-threatening condition after a suspected arson attack at a restaurant in East London. Crews rescued 5 people from the building in Woodford Avenue in Ilford late last night. 3 women and 2 men were treated for burns and smoke inhalation. All of them have been taken to hospital. The Met Police and London Fire Brigade are investigating, with no arrests so far. Lyle Menendez, the older of the notorious brothers who were jailed for murdering their parents in Los Angeles in 1989, has been denied parole. It comes a day after his brother Eric Menendez received the same ruling. The pair, now ages 57 and 54, were given life sentences without the chance of parole 30 years ago after killing their parents with a shotgun at their Beverly Hills home. They claim they acted in self-defense. And finally, one of the world's most active volcanoes has erupted again. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano started shooting arcs of lava 100 foot into the air early this morning. This marks Kilauea's 31st eruption since December, with the molten rock contained solely within the summit's crater, posing no threat to nearby homes. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. Now, it's back to Alex.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Please keep your comments coming. I'll just read out a couple here. Waspy Woman says, sort out the gold-plated civil servant pensions we all pay for, as if you decrease them to be the same as private pensions and the state pension, we would have multi-billions available. And also, there's an interesting... one man in particular has a very special pension. That's spikiest. It's gold-plated itself, is it not, Kai?
I haven't seen it myself.
He's got his own pensions legislation, which got him out of the previous cap for pensions contributions.
And interesting,
which is the entire reason why, by the way, they can't bring that cap back in again.
Two-tier pensions.
Yeah. Interestingly, Fen Fatale says, pensions being a Ponzi scheme is of no interest to me. The contract between me and the government is I pay my national insurance for 35 years and I get a full state pension.
There you have it. And one more comment here. Gareth says, Labour before the election, everything on our manifesto is fully funded and fully cost. well, write me a joke of the day. How about that? Well, of course, I'm Alex Armstrong. I promise this is going to be a very lively hour, another one. You've been voting in our Saturday scrap poll, and I can now reveal which topic has been crowned the winner. 8% of you voted for should King Charles and Prince Harry make up. 44% of you voted should we let Russia and Ukraine fight it out. And 48% of you, this is the closest I've ever been, voted for whether sports teams should turn their backs on Israel's national anthem. So there you have it. Let's crack on with tonight's main event. Yes, now Britain's wheelchair basketball team is facing a storm of criticism after players turned their backs during Israel's national anthem at the Nations Cup in Cologne. The protest, said to be over Israel's actions in Gaza, has been branded deeply disrespectful by the Israeli Paralympic Committee, which is demanding sanctions. Paralympics GB has reminded athletes that political protests are banned at sporting events. Critics warn that taxpayer funding for the team could be at risk if such gestures continue. Britain went on to defeat Israel 74-64 and claim victory in the tournament. So, should sports teams turn their back on Israel's national anthem? Well, round one, ding ding, it's going off, starting with Guy.
Look, I think our sports teams are well within their rights to express their political opinions. Now, Paralympians, we know, are a paragon of strength and justice, and so it's no surprise that they can see clearly what so many of you here on the panel cannot. When will you wake up and smell the coffee and realise that protesting against the authoritarian and fascistic state policy of the current Israeli government is exactly the right thing to do. You know, there's form on this. Athletes refusing to compete against apartheid South Africa, boycotts of the 1980 Olympics after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Sport has always been a part of politics, and politics has always been in sports. And so it stands to reason that these Paralympians have stood up and done the right thing.
Lauren?
I think that politics has been in sport, but not for players on the pitch, more for the organisations themselves. Now, had the Paralympic Committee elected to have the Israeli team not compete because they were participating in a war, then it would be perfectly legitimate for them to not be there. But since they are there, it is not the fault of the people on the basketball team on that court what their government is doing. It is disrespectful to them to behave in such a manner. But sport is political, but it needs to stop when it gets to the actual pitch.
But what would have been actually disrespectful is refusing to compete entirely. That does disrespect the hard work that the Israeli athletes had put into preparing for this showdown.
Which is why there's a
silent and quite noble protest against what is, I think, quite a horrific situation that we've seen. You know, we've seen that now it's announced and broadly accepted that there's a famine happening in Gaza. This is just common sense for the vast majority of Brits. I really think that they'll see the Paralympians' actions in a good light.
So where things end up working well is where you have things like bans and sanctions. So like the English cricket team not playing in South Africa under apartheid. If you then say, I'm sorry, but the English basketball team is not going to play against the Israeli basketball team, the Israeli basketball team, who have prepared, yes, will go home and say, you, my government, are stopping me from participating in sport. Stop doing what you're doing. And they didn't do that, and I think that would have been a more powerful statement.
OK, let's open it up to the panel. Dr. Renee, you're raring to go.
I am, because the hypocrisy in what you just said, let me just spell it out for you.
Oh,
you said that sports teams historically have done this, e.g. apartheid, and then you said, actually, if they'd have not played against the team, that would have been disrespectful. That is exactly what happened in apartheid.
Yeah.
Entire sporting organisations did not play against the South African team. But suddenly, this time, it would have been disrespectful.
No, it would have been more. It would have been more, not quite as good a statement, I think, as this. This is. I don't see how this damages anybody, Renee.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to see them obviously not refuse to compete. But then, of course, that has the downside of those Israeli athletes who
Lauren is absolutely right.
Oh, I like it when I hear that.
In apartheid and in these kind of situations, it wasn't the players that made the individual decisions, it was the sporting organisations
and the governments from when they came
and the governments who said, no, our teams will not play against you. This is not this.
Do you know my problem with this is that there's this constant attack on Israel. And it's not even sometimes targeted at the government. It's targeted at sporting teams and people who've got no relation to the government whatsoever. This is a taxpayer-funded team. This is owned by you and me at home. And if you want to make political statements, fine, do them on your own social media, do them in your own spare time. But don't do it when the taxpayer is funding you, because people at home, I'm sure there's potentially Israeli people living in the country who are funding that team, who might not like... yes, at the match. And the Israeli national anthem doesn't necessarily represent what the government there is doing. So even if you don't like what the government is doing, you're taking your protest to the wrong place, quite frankly. Chris, what do you make of it?
I think I'm obviously a massive sports fan, a Bolton fan, unfortunately. I don't think you should boo any national anthem. And I think what they always forget this, that like when you go to a football match, there's little children there as well. Yeah. I don't think politics or anything like that should be anywhere near any sports. If you want to keep it away from, like, do it somewhere else.
The anthem is not the country, it's not the government.
No. Sports is meant to be enjoyable. Kids grow up wanting to be David Beckham or something like that. They don't want to go into stadiums where it's hostile and they're booing national anthems and, oh, this country's doing that. Because if you think about it, in the Premier League alone, there's nationalities, different nationalities. There could be you've seen it with the Ukraine, the Arsenal players, you know, when the Ukraine and Russia kicked off and stuff. I just keep it away from it. I really do. I genuinely think it ruins the sport for me. It really does.
Yeah, and Kai, is there not a point to be made here that if this was like another team, let's say anyone did it to a different country, let's say the Indian team or a team from Africa, perhaps, and you turned your back on the national team, people like you would start calling them racist.
You can play the counterfactual all you like, Alex, but actually what Chris said really highlights the point, doesn't it? The crux of the matter is There are kids in Gaza who will never grow up to enjoy sports.
But that's not the point.
That's not the point.
Ridiculous point to make. No, hang on. I'm not letting you get away with that one.
Because babies were kidnapped who will never see life again. You cannot use that. You can use that.
Yes, I can actually,
No,
Dr.
both
Renee.
sides.
I can say what I like.
Both sides. There are 50 hostages still there, half of them dead. Just release the hostages. This will all be over.
Look, I just can't believe that again and again you willfully ignore the horrors that are unfolding and get angry about a silent and noble protest by Paralympians. I mean, this is not an issue.
The Israeli government, is it? What is it to do with the Israeli government?
It's a basketball game. What has it got to do with the Israeli government?
Hang on.
Disabled? No, they're not. They're representing their country. The country is not the government.
This is ridiculous. They are not representing the Israeli government. They are a disabled group's basketball team, and they have had their backs turned on them by a group of players who are politically charged for whatever reason, who have no right to be doing that to them. It's a shameful thing. It's a shame on our country. And that team is taxpayer funded.
Once again,
why should I pay for it?
Once again,
okay, let me change the question.
Let me finish. Once again, it's protest that you don't like that you have an issue with, isn't it, Alex Armstrong?
Listen.
Can I request a fire extinguisher in here?
Listen, at the end of the day, I don't mind you making political statements. I'm all for your freedom.
Well, you clearly do.
But there is a limit. There is a limit when the taxpayer is funding, though. When the taxpayer is funding for you, have a private team. Do it with your private team. You can call it the anti-Israeli team for all I care, right? But when I'm paying for your team to go out and play with my money, I don't want you to be making a political statement that I don't agree with.
Clear as mud, thank you. I've written that limits
Please
to
come back
free
when I'm paying for it. Yeah, limits to free speech when I'm paying for it, and all of you at home, Marcus, I'm sure you'd all agree with me. The same way I don't want to pay for Gary Lineker's nonsense when I'm paying for his bills too. Anyway, let's get to a right of reply here. A British wheelchair basketball spokesman said this. British wheelchair basketball is aware of the incident during the Israeli national anthem at the Nations Cup. We are continuing discussions internally after conversations with the Paralympics GBIWBF and the Israeli Paralympic Committee. There you have it. Well, some lighter news. It's the final week to see how you could live the next year mortgage or rent-free with an additional $5,000 in your bank account. Or, if you don't have any of those payments to make each month, you could end up with $15,000 in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck, everybody. I hope you all get involved there and win some money. Well, still to come tonight.
This flag, these symbols, they represent white supremacy.
That's a trigger tantrum I'm going to have after watching that video, so that'll be one we can use next week. A brand new batch of those tantrums will be with you shortly, but next, Pope Francis said the Prime Minister's Chagos still is a significant victory. We'll see you after the break.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. We have some corrections to make. Pope Francis has unfortunately did pass away a while ago, and I did say it was Pope Francis who said this, which would be quite the miracle itself had Pope Francis come out and said it was a victory over Chagos. It was, of course, Pope Leo who has said that. And I also have to apologise for Kai, who said that the Paralympians should stand up against those, and that's, of course, not the case in this situation. All right?
It was a figure of speech.
OK, well, whatever you say, but I'm going to apologise to those people if they were offended by that. So gbnews.com/yours. Get your questions in and Ask the Five. Like I said, this could be my last Ask the Five. So anything, chuck it in there. Keep it clean, because I've got to read it out on national television, and I would love to answer as many Ask the Fives as possible. So keep them coming, please. Well, the Pope, not Francis, Pope Leo, has praised Sir Keir Starmer's decision to give up the Chagos Islands, calling it a significant victory that repairs a grave injustice. Pope Leo XIV met exiled islanders at the Vatican, saying all peoples have the right to live on their land. But critics here, at home in the United Kingdom, are furious with the bill for leasing back the Diego Garcia military base to sit. Well, it's going to cost us at least £35 billion. Reform UK say they'll rip up the treaty if they take power, warning Mauritius is far too close to China and Russia. Well, we're now joined by Chagosian lead of Friends of the British Overseas Territories, Vanessa Kalu. Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me. Pope Leo
Thank you for the opportunity.
Not at all, not at all. It's a pleasure to have you. Pope Leo's comments are a little bit of a surprise. Are they rather political situation for at least us over here in the United Kingdom? What do you make of them, Vanessa?
I'm therefore disagree, and I know that most of the majority British Chagosian will be disagree what the Paul Leo is recently praised of the UK and Mauritius deal, which overlook the principle of self-determination for British Chagosian living, most of the majority living in the UK and waiting to go back to our island as British. But the future of the island should be decided by Chagosian, the native people and the descendant, not by the International Court of Justice or the government minister or any group or Chagosian group. It must be by the people of the island who are British for generation and generation since we ceded the island 200 years ago.
Yes, Vanessa, I totally sympathise with you. It's very disappointing that that a man of religious stature should be making comments like this. I don't think that the Pope should be wading himself into political decisions. Of course, you know, as part of this deal, the British government wrote in their treaties that were signed by both the Foreign Secretary and many others, where it did say this was some sort of reparations for the Mauritians. And my understanding, Vanessa, is that the Mauritians have never owned the Chagos Islands.
No, the Mauritian was never on the Chagos Island. It was just an administrator. Mauritius was not exist at that time when the UK ceded the island from France, and Mauritius was named as l'Île de France at the post. And the situation is at the moment we have native Chagosian to generation by generation, and the history proved that, and they continue mislead our right as people of the Chagos Island, and then doing deal, and now taking taxpayers. It look like we are fleeing Mauritius coming to the UK because Mauritius government put a criminal code on everyone supporting UK sovereignty over Chagos Island. So now when we arrive in the UK, we work in the UK, we pay tax. So you want our tax to pay Mauritius, a country that we've been discriminated most of our life in Mauritius, and that is not right. So we need to do something about it. A government should not decide for our future of our island. It must be respect our right of self-determination.
Vanessa, thank you for coming onto the show tonight. I believe that the Chagos Islands traditionally has Catholicism as its main religion. So Pope Leo should be talking for Chagosians all around the world, not just those who may remain on the islands, although I don't think there's so many. Why do you think he would take this stance and ignore those of you who are not being able to return to the islands?
I believe that there's a group of Chagosian, is a minimum people that is preferred from Mauritius. They work with the Mauritian government, so they please the Pope Leo at the moment, like everyone. So at the moment they agree that they are British, but I don't know if it's oppression or suppression from the government of Mauritius. That's why they are doing this. But the Pope, I have respect for him, for everyone, but the thing is, he's not supposed to make decision of that or get involved with this situation.
Okay, I want to bring in Kai.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vanessa, for this. It seems that this has become a bit of a political and geopolitical tug of war, doesn't it? You know, talks of Chinese influence, the US getting involved, and now the Pope. Does that mean that there's quite a great deal of uncertainty about the future of these islands? And how does that make some Chagosians feel?
This is really weird. The situation is the island never belonged to Mauritius. The people who are native, not workers, native, who've been generation in generation on that island, must respect their rights.
Yep.
And I don't understand why they continue, Keir Starmer and their government and all the people with government Mauritius, continuing with their agenda to get that island. That island is for British and need to remain. And the people, the majority of people want to remain as British. So this is a simple situation, and on the top of it, he wants to use the taxpayer, the UK taxpayer, 35 billion, instead of taking 35 billion. He needs to resolve the homelessness in UK. Everyone, most of the people in UK is getting poorer and poorer. They need to look on our education, our children getting mental health problems. So he needs to resolve the British first. British people must be first.
Vanessa
not getting involved with other country.
Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate the situation you're in, and good luck to you. We've all got your back here. Maybe all of us except for Kai, I don't know. That was Vanessa Kalu, there, lead of Chagosian Friends of British Overseas Territories. All right, still to come tonight. I'm just going to wait till someone tells me what this week's triggered tantrums. But next, one of the five will tell us why it's time to leave Reggie the dolphin alone. Yes, it's almost time for Bunch of Five. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed bag across Europe as we go through the next few days. There is some rain pushing into parts of Portugal, also affecting southwestern Spain as we go into tomorrow, but most of Spain actually having a largely fine day. A few showery outbreaks affecting parts of Italy, Greece and maybe Turkey too, but these won't be as heavy nor as thundery as we've seen recently. And then through into next week, whilst most places will stay largely fine, across some areas, France, Germany for example, the risk of some heavy thundery downpours.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, the mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Let me read some of your comments out here. Freddie says, the Chagos deal is just a result of colonial guilt from Cleverly and Lammy. Well, that's interesting. I think it's just a Labour guilt as well, because I think the Tories probably would have tried to block it somehow. Stuart says, on the team of the Paralympic team, he says, defund that team. They don't deserve to represent Britain. And Richard says, we're talking about nudist beach. Richard of Yorkshire says, never been to a nudist beach. I'd find it far too exciting. Well, Richard. Wait till you see what we've got in store for you at 8 o'clock. Well, please get in touch. gbnews.com/your say. And now it's time for this. Yes, it's Bunch of Five. We talk about different stories that have caught our eye of the week. Chris is going to kick us off. Chris, what do you have for us?
Well, another potential steelwork closure in Rotherham. I don't know if any of you have seen this. I think the government want to nationalise it. And yeah, I don't know if any of you have seen it on the news. Sadly, another steelworks we're going to lose, which is, and I work in the railway industry as well, and I drove past there. It's absolutely massive. 1,500 jobs are up. You know, what could be lost at risk, and you just know as soon as you see that sort of news and you see them headlines, you just know it's going to close. That's the way it is.
Well,
and it's just sad for England. We're losing them all, aren't we? And why not just keep it here? Keep the jobs here. Do you know what I mean? What harm is it going to do? Do you know what I mean? Fund it.
We need some national security.
Of course we do.
Lauren,
we just keep selling all our assets.
I'm a bit confused by this one actually, because my understanding was, and from our understanding in the Welsh perspective, Liberty Steel was supposed to be the big saviour of any kind of steel in the United Kingdom. OK, we weren't going to make virgin steel anymore, but we were going to make this kind of recycled steel that Liberty was supposed to be leading the charge on. And now if even Liberty are going bust. But the other thing that is quite annoying, and I'm sure that Kai's going to back me up on this one, you know, I've worked in Welsh politics for almost 20 years now, and Port Talbot Steelworks has been hanging on the brink for a huge chunk of that 20 years. The government stepping in for England when it never stepped in for Wales is just another in a long line of things that are going to push people towards Plaid Cymru.
Yeah, it's a pattern of behaviour.
Yeah, it really is.
And I mean, the other thing about this is you know, we've got your friend Miliband, you know, wanted to save the world with his clean energy. And all this does is increase global emissions, because we will now have to ship steel in from India and China with a massive carbon footprint. It just won't be our footprint.
Well, Renee, while you're there, why don't you tell us what your bunch of five is?
OK, I'm coming out to bat for Reggie the dolphin. So Reggie the dolphin is a dolphin who's got quite known in off the coast of Dorset, and he's getting friendlier and friendlier. There he is. Look at him, bless him. And he used to only come into about 300 metres from the beach, but as more and more people have been befriending him, he likes human company. He's now coming into 100 metres, and this week he apparently tried to drown, I think he was trying to do something else, 2 female swimmers in wetsuits. And so I see where this is going. This is going to go to, let's deport Reggie. Well, I say no. This is one migrant I do not want to deport. Leave him alone. It's his sea.
Well, I don't really know what to say about that. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I love dolphins.
Marine life famously respectful of the international law of the sea.
Hands up, who would vote for Reggie to stay?
Me.
You'd vote for...
I've been to
SeaWorld. Kai wants to listen. You saw it here first. Kai will have everyone else leave the country. He wants to deport Reggie.
Alex, I've always said # Dolphin Lives Matter.
Dolphins Lives Matter.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we'll...
It depends what he did, actually.
Well, he's the beloved murderous dolphin of attempted murderous dolphin of Dorset.
He apparently is jumping on these women who are swimming near him and trying to drown them.
Like the orcas trying to drown the millionaires in their yachts.
Yeah, I think he's just being friendly.
I think marine wildlife is trying to tell us something about how the world's going.
But this is it. Are we just getting too close to nature now? Should we just have a bit of a safe space from the animals?
I think
write this down as well.
Don't write it down.
Safe space.
I think they need a safe space from us.
The thing is,
I think we're intervening too much in wildlife.
We hound them, don't we? They just leave them be.
Right. I can't remember which bunch of five I've given you lot this week, actually. That's what it was. Thank you for reminding me, guys, down my ear. It's good old Tom Jones. And this is just tragic, isn't it? Tom Jones has been out, of course, doing his concerts, and one of the concerts he was told, I believe, to not sing the song Delilah. And because apparently it's got something to do with him stabbing his girlfriend or something at the end, but no one really pays attention to that line, do they? This is a national treasure of a song. It's made by the legend Tom Jones, but Lauren, I believe you're in favour of getting rid of this song, aren't you?
Well, it's been banned by the Welsh Rugby Union since, 2023, I think, and it is a song that, unfortunately, in quite a lot of the lyrics, not just one line, glorifies domestic violence against women. I can understand why in sports where you might have an effort towards reducing the propensity for domestic violence, domestic violence goes up after sporting matches, we know this. I can understand why you would remove a song that says that, but I actually have very few views on this because I think it's a song.
Have you ever... Chris, I'm going to say, have you ever been to Stoke on a cold Tuesday night?
Oddly, no.
I have with Bolton. We got beaten 2-0, and I didn't know that was their song, and they sung it, and it was so loud. I got goosebumps, but it's a football chant as well.
Yeah.
They changed names to it, but...
It all comes back to freedom of speech, doesn't it? We've got banning songs,
is that not just looking too much into lyrics?
But this is the thing, we'll end up banning Jerusalem.
Yeah.
We will, because people will say that's to do with all of the crusades. They'll say this is the problem. Once you ban one thing, you start banning everything else, and this is a slippery slope. I mean, Kai, come on. Are you going to sit there and tell me, as a man of Wales, that you want one of Tom Jones's songs banned?
Yeah, come on, Kai.
There we go. Oh, wow. Come on, surprise us.
Of course not.
So you want to keep the Delilah song, do you?
I think you know, artistic expression. I think is another important principle that I happen to believe in. You know, artists much maligned in this country.
But that's a very good point, actually.
Okay. And just like I supported the creators of Adolescence delivering on their artistic vision.
Right. Okay. Let's move on. Lauren, what's your bunch of five?
My bunch of five this week is the Chinese mega embassy that is being proposed in London. There was a protest against it today, and in the plans they have submitted to the British government, there is a large grey sort of boxed out area in the plans which they will not confess to the British government the contents of. And I think that we have to consider that China, as an openly hostile actor to the rest of the world, needs to not be allowed to build a mega embassy over quite so much of our national infrastructure.
Yeah, I believe there might have already been approved plans for the embassy to go
ahead. Yes, but on national security grounds, they can be revoked.
Well, and I think they should be. I do not understand why one of our biggest future adversaries, not just to Britain, but to the West, is allowed to have this mega embassy. We've had Chinese dissidents from Hong Kong here, and they've told us they are scared about the infiltration of China into our country. We've got them buying up private schools. I'm probably never going to be allowed to fly to China now after all of this, am I? But it doesn't matter, because I'd rather tell the British public what they need to know. And I think China is our biggest threat to the West. I don't think it's Russia. I don't think it's North Korea. I don't think it's Iran. I think it's China. And I think that conversation is going to heat up over the next decade. But Kai, do you think we should let your friends in the Chinese Communist Party have a
and I'm sure I'm going to back you up on this. It is under David Cameron and George Osborne that we started
absolutely
to China, and
totally agree with that.
Rightly, we have moved past that and realised that
Nick Timothy in government does not get nearly enough credit for turning the boat around on. When he was Chief of Staff to Theresa May, he was fundamental in pulling in the Hinkley Point Chinese deal and saying, no, this is critical national infrastructure. The Chinese cannot be involved.
But this government have coasted up to China, and the thought of Angela and say, come on, Chuck, show us what's behind those black bits on the map.
Is that your Angela Rayner impression?
I really don't want to know what's in China's dungeon, actually, but I'm sure it's no good.
I'm sure if all of us visited, we'd get to find out.
Yes.
Very rapidly.
While you're there, what's your bunch of five?
Well, imbalances of power between masters and servants, unwanted sexual advances. No, it's not Reggie the dolphin. It's not the Green Room. It is the trigger warnings for Marriage of Figaro, which is obviously an opera being put on in Glyndebourne Opera Festival. Alex actually doesn't think our viewers know what that is, but I have faith in the GBNews.
I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Just because you're as cultured as a peanut doesn't mean all your viewers are.
Fair enough. I just think this is just such a stuffy story. I mean, I just
know that the Marriage of Figaro gets put on all over the world, not just the Glyndebourne.
It is.
Never even heard of the Marriage of Figaro. Never heard of it.
Alex, I'll second that. I'm not Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, never heard of it. The average,
heard of Mozart?
I mean, of course, the Oxbridge elite over there of Carl Wiltshire, the so-called
Did you go to Oxford?
Did you?
I worked hard from a Welsh comprehensive school to get there. Thanks very much, Alex.
Oh, did you really?
Listen, if you knew anything about the Welsh education system, you'd know that was a miracle.
Alex Armstrong hates ambition, doesn't he? He wants to level down this country.
OK, right, we've got to move on because still to come tonight.
I wouldn't be opposed to 100% inheritance tax. Or maybe, let's say, 99%.
I wouldn't be opposed to deporting 100% of lefties, or maybe 99% of them. Yes, it's Triggered Tantrums up next. You're with the Saturday 5 Live on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So this story has caught my eye in the Times today. Teenage pupils are being given lessons in how to make a phone call.
Oh, God.
You've heard that right. This is from UCAS. This is the University Admissions Service. And basically, if you miss your university grades, you have to get on the phone to clearing and try and negotiate yourself a place at university.
Yeah.
Teenage pupils these days do not know how to do that, to pick up the phone and negotiate. So schools are having to run workshops where people are being taught, and I quote, how to say hello and knowing that you will need your
UCAS
UCAS number.
These skills? When has all this happened, and why has all of this happened?
Because they don't make casual phone calls. You know how you just pick up the phone and be like, hi, how are you doing? How's your afternoon? They don't do that anymore. They just send texts or
I
voice
disagree.
notes.
This is a new thing.
Really?
I got my brother into university via clearing by phone because he was so broken about his grades.
Really?
That was in 1999. I rang them up and I got him into a better place than he was going to anyway, because there's so much rich pickings to be had in clearing, or there was in those days. Also got the son of the landlord of the pub I was working at. He flunked his grades as well, and I managed to get him in. So I don't think it's about confidence. It's just sometimes if you're going through clearing, it's usually because you haven't got the grades that you want, and you're probably a bit crestfallen.
No, I mean, generally, they don't. I mean, I talked to some of my colleagues yesterday who were very young, and their form of journalism is to text and email. It is what it is, and that's what the skills of people of a different generation have.
My sports editor, old sports editor years ago, didn't like people who didn't bash the phones, and he called them phone hoverers.
Yeah.
And that was the worst insult you could have in the office.
Well, I remember when I first started in journalism, if you weren't picking up the phone and bashing the phones, you wouldn't come back the next day.
No, exactly.
You had to have made a certain number of phone calls.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Coming up from 8 p.m, it's Ask the Five, my last Ask the Five. And I've got loads of your comments here. You've given us loads to pick from, so we'll be rattling those off from 8 o'clock. Send in your questions, though. If you've got more to add, gbnews.com/your say. But now it's time for Triggered Tantrums. We, this crackpot panel, spend a week going through the craziest videos on the internet just to bring you a little bit of relief on your Saturday evening, to laugh at people who are absolutely absurd. Just wait until you see what we've got for you. Chris, you want to introduce your triggered tantrum for us?
Yeah, another LBC lefty meltdown, 100% inheritance tax. They want to take all our money, so you've got none left for your kids.
Let's have a look.
I wouldn't be opposed to 100% inheritance tax. Or maybe, let's say, 99%. You know, my rule might be that if you can put it in 2p bags, then you can hand it over. That's fine. 99, 95%. I'm being provocative, but you see what I mean. I would not be against a far higher rate of inheritance tax than we have at the moment. You don't have a right to inherit. You should have a right to work while you're alive and keep more of your own money. That, to me, is more important, way more important, than your right to just inherit some money from mummy and daddy that you did nothing to earn.
Honestly, it's the most disgusting kind of tax on people. It's a death tax, first of all, but then to put it to 100%, right? What about people who have worked hard to give their children a better life?
Yeah.
What about those people? And to then say that the government should take it, that's done nothing for me, to give me a lacklustre NHS service, to tax me out of my backside, and then not build any homes. I mean, I could sit here all day, couldn't I? And then
flip it over.
Yeah.
Flip it over. OK, let's say that we accept that proposal, and because kids haven't earned it, they can't have your inheritance from their mum and dad. On the flip side of that, anybody who's never paid into the tax system can't have NHS care, can't have dentistry care, can't have benefits.
They aren't going to enjoy the other side of that argument.
Should we do that?
Yeah.
How about that, Hayley?
Imagine having the nerve to say you have no right to inherit. Everything I own, my house, my money, will be going to my children, and I'll do it in a way that the government don't get any of it. I work my backside off not for the government, for my children.
But this is part of a much wider problem that more and more taxation is going to a reduced number of people in the country. So people are paying council tax and not receiving the council services they feel that they should have, their bin, their potholes being filled in, because it's all going on social care. It's all going on the education mandates and special needs. And so more and more people are feeling antipathy towards the taxation system because fewer and fewer people are seeing any real benefit from the government at all.
OK, let's move on to our next triggered tantrum.
So, this wasn't so much a tantrum this week, but it made me laugh so much, especially when I showed it to Kai and he said, oh, my goodness, I didn't know I was being filmed. This is in California. This is a man in the street taking a shower. Up there with
honest.
Looks pretty good, that, to be honest. I might have a go at that myself.
It's a free shower. Water's expensive these days.
Well, so are Japanese loos.
It's a very powerful B-day is what that is.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah, it felt really good on the back carriage.
Enough.
Oh,
Kai.
Oh, that's going to ruin my dinner tonight. I have to eat late as well.
Make him stand in the corner.
All right, well, I've got
you know you did her off it?
I've got one for you as well. Look, have a look at this. This is just like, you know what, the lefties have really been out in force this week, haven't they? Take a look at this.
These flags, these symbols, they represent white supremacy. They represent my parents were chased down the road by people waving both of these flags with me in a pram. Like this, you're never going to get, there's a large majority, I don't know if it's a majority, but there's a large amount of people in this country who will never look at that flag and see anything other than intimidation and
this flag now also is representative of modern UK, which for all its flaws is a relatively successful, multi-ethnic, multiracial, multi-faith democracy.
Change the flag.
White supremacy. They want to change our flag.
Hey, listen, no. Big dragon right in the middle.
I would love that.
Big dragon right in the middle.
I advocate for that. I would love, if we're going to do anything for it, whack in a dragon.
Exactly. The same flag, massive dragon.
I mean, as much as I love the dragon, that would be ugly as sin.
But it's a real statement of intent to the world, though.
Because it's watching these videos this week has just really wound me up, because at the end of the day, this flag has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we have rallied around it in moments of national crisis, in moments of national and in celebration. We love our flag. The vast majority of British people love our flag, whether you're black, brown or otherwise. People love the British flag. They love the St George's Cross. And I just have to say, I know, Chris, you were talking about this earlier with Raise the Colours. Raise the Colours. Absolutely, you should be proud of your country.
But you know what, Alex? It's people like this that are making people go out now and put the flag up. They've had enough of this constant denigration of our flag.
I did a video on that. I did a video on that clip because it coincided with Raise the Flag and stuff, and the Operation Raise the Flag. And I can't believe he's got the audacity to sit on live TV and say change the flag. It doesn't represent this. It represents far right and thugs and racists and stuff. And I'm like, you're living in that country. If you don't like it, lump it. That's our flag. That's our national. We're not changing it for anybody.
If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Also, think about all the other things it represents. It represents standing alone for at least 2 years against Nazi Germany when the rest of Europe had fallen. It stood with our allies at many other wars. That flag represents an enormous amount to a huge number of people, not just something that happened 20 years ago.
And might I add, that flag flew around the world while we paid to end slavery across the world. We were the first country ever in history to end slavery, and to do it with our money and with our force and the brilliant Royal Navy. And might I just remind people of that? We spent hundreds, what would be equivalent of billions of pounds, 50% of our GDP to do that. And that's because the British people were so incensed when they saw what was happening on these boats. There was I can't remember the name of the document that was leaked out to the British public, but the British public saw a picture of the slave boats. They'd never seen this before. Remember, they didn't have social media. But when they did see it, they turned on the slave trade within days. And that is what ended that awful trade, and British people lost their lives ending that trade. There's many other slave countries that have purported slavery around the world, but Britain is the only one who have forcibly ended it. I guess alongside America, who had a civil war over it as well, but we did it globally. Kai, should we change the flag?
No.
Great. Anyone else want to change the flag? I don't think they should be.
Can I just add as well?
Of course, very briefly, go ahead.
We've got veterans who fought in the war for that flag. You know what I mean? What a slap in the face that is for them. If they watched that on the TV, daytime TV, and they were sat home watching this guy saying, change the flag, They fought for this country.
They
Absolutely.
also
right.
fought for his right to say what he thinks.
No,
as much as we might hate it.
Yes, and I have to say, I want him to be able to say it out loud because then we can challenge it.
And tell him he's wrong.
then if people like these people didn't have their voice, we wouldn't have these flags going up across the country, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. Before we get to the Saturday 5 Extra, where it's going to be a very, very fun hour, I tell you, this is going to be the best Saturday 5 Extra we've ever had. Benny says, anyone who doesn't like our flag, go somewhere else. Absolutely spot on. Right, well, don't go anywhere. It's coming up. It's the Saturday 5 Extra. Anything can happen, as I always say, it usually does. Anything crazy can happen. We'll be talking about what the war between nudists and swingers is happening on some beaches. So I wonder what could go wrong there.
Maybe they should get together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll be back with a pint or a glass of wine in just a moment. We'll see you after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland, we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland, largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe,